She brought her lover into the apartment I was still paying for, sat on my side of the couch in my t-shirt, and laughed while he ate the takeout I bought on my way home from work. Then she looked me dead in my face and said, "This is what a grown man looks like, Oliver." Her sister filmed part of it on her phone like it was a joke. I stood there in Houston with my keys in my hand, my chest burning, and everybody in that room acted like I was the problem. Here's how it happened. My name is Oliver, and back then I was the kind of man who thought loyalty could hold a house together even when money got tight. I drove a city bus in Houston, worked long shifts, and still came home trying to make the evening feel soft. My wife, Nia, used to meet me at the door in fuzzy socks, music playing, hair wrapped, smelling like cocoa butter and fried onions. We were the couple people called solid. We laughed loud, argued fast, made up faster. I believed in us in that stubborn, working man way where love means showing up, no matter what. The first years were good in a simple, beautiful way. We didn't have much, but we knew how to stretch joy. Friday nights meant dollar tacos on Westheimer, and Nia would always steal half my Horkata after saying she didn't want one. She had this laugh that started in her shoulders and made strangers smile. Once, we got caught in the rain outside a gas station, and she started dancing in the parking lot like she was in a music video. I remember thinking, this woman could make a flat tire feel romantic. Back then, she looked at me like I was enough. We were black and southern and practical, so romance wasn't always flowers and poems. Sometimes it was me warming up her car before dawn. Sometimes it was her packing my lunch with little notes like, "Don't fuss at these people today," because she knew my route got crazy. One time she wrote, "If somebody acts up, imagine them in church socks and hush." I laughed so hard on my break, I almost dropped my sandwich. We built private jokes like a language. I thought that was what marriage was. Small mercies, inside laughter, and choosing each other on regular Tuesdays. The pressure started after I got passed over for a supervisor position. I had the years, the record, the respect, but they gave it to a younger guy with family ties. Nia acted supportive at first, but I could feel something shift. She started making little comments when bills were due. "You too nice, Oliver. That bus job got you acting small. Other men don't get comfortable." They came out half joking, but they landed hard. I worked overtime to make up the difference, and the more I worked, the colder home got. I kept telling myself stress was talking, not her heart. Around that time, Nia got close to a man named Donnell from her cousin's real estate office. He was flashy in a way I never cared to be. Designer belts, loud cologne, talking big about moves and opportunities. The first time I met him at a cookout on the north side, he shook my hand too long and looked around our place like he was appraising it. Nia laughed at all his stories, even the corny ones. He called everybody boss and told me I needed to upgrade my mindset. I smiled because I was raised right. Inside, something in me tightened. The humiliation didn't come all at once. It came in layers. Nia started comparing me to him in front of people. At her auntie's birthday in Third Ward, she said, "Oliver still think hard work is enough. Donnell says money needs strategy." Everybody laughed like I was a punchline. I tried to joke back and said, "Donnell's strategy looked like debt in a leather jacket," and for a second people cackled. Even Nia cracked a smile. But on the ride home she went ice cold and said I embarrassed her. That was the first time she slept facing the wall and didn't say goodnight. Then came the money lies. She said she needed cash for a certification class. Then I found receipts for weekend trips to Dallas and San Antonio. She said Donnell was just helping her network, but every time his name popped up, she'd turn her phone away. I confronted her one Sunday morning after church, still in my suit, and she laughed in my face. "You're not my daddy, Oliver." I told her I was her husband. She said, "Act like one." I stood in that kitchen while the greens simmered on the stove and felt my own home turn into a place I had to survive. What made it worse was how people chose sides before there was even a side to choose. Nia's sister Keisha started posting little quotes online about men with fragile egos. Our mutual friend stopped inviting me places unless Nia was out of town. Even my cousin Trey told me, "Bro, if she acting like that, you must have dropped the ball somewhere." Nobody asked what I was carrying. Nobody saw the overtime, The rent, the repairs, the way I still bought flowers after arguments. It's a special kind of loneliness when folks rewrite your marriage while you're still standing inside it. I tried to save us anyway because that's what I knew how to do. I planned a weekend in Galveston, cheap but thoughtful, same beach where we took pictures when we were dating. I booked a room, packed snacks, even brought the card game she always cheated at. On the drive down, she scrolled her phone and barely answered me. At dinner, I made her laugh for a moment when I pretended to be a dramatic way to describing fried shrimp like fine art. Tonight, madam, our sea insects are pan-kissed. She snorted water through her nose. For 1 minute, I saw my wife again. Then her phone buzzed and she disappeared. She spent half that trip texting Danelle in the bathroom. I know because she forgot to lock the screen once and I saw his message, "Wish you was here for real." When I brought it up, she didn't even deny it. She looked out of the water and said, "At least he sees more for me than bus routes and coupons." That sentence tore something in me. We drove back to Houston in silence, and I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers hurt. I wasn't just losing my wife. I was being recast as the obstacle in a life I helped build. The final break came a month later. I got off a late shift and brought home Thai food because Nia used to love drunken noodles after a long day. I opened the door and heard music, laughing, glasses clinking. Danelle was in my living room, shoes off, feet on my coffee table. Nia had on my old college t-shirt and lipstick. Keisha was there too, recording me with that mean little smile. Nia didn't even stand up. She said, "Perfect timing. We were just talking about how you need to move on." Then Danelle grinned and said, respectfully, "Boss, she already did." I wish I could tell you I handled it with perfect dignity. I didn't. I cried. Right there in front of them. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just that ugly, shock crying your body does when your soul gets hit too fast. Nia rolled her eyes and said, "See? This is why." Keisha laughed and muttered, "He too emotional." Danelle stood up like he was ready for me to swing, probably hoping I would. I didn't. I put the food on the counter, grabbed a duffel bag, and packed enough clothes for a week while they kept talking over me like I was a delivery man. The cruelest part wasn't just that she cheated. It was how she wanted the audience. By the next morning, people knew. Keisha had posted a blurry video of me walking out, and though she deleted it later, folks had already seen enough. At work, one of the younger drivers asked if I was okay in that fake soft voice people use when they know gossip before truth. I stopped eating much. I started sleeping in my car some nights because my friend Marcus's couch was crowded and I didn't want to burden him. I was paying rent on a place where another man brushed his teeth. Marcus, bless him, was the only one who showed up without advice. He just handed me a blanket, moved a stack of sneakers, and said, "You snore on this couch, I'm charging you rent." That made me laugh for the first time in weeks. His mama, Miss Loretta, lived downstairs and treated me like I was one of hers. She'd slide me a plate and say, "Eat before you start thinking sad." One morning she caught me staring at my phone waiting for Nia to apologize and said, "Baby, some people don't come back with a heart. They come back for access." Nia never apologized. She sent messages about bills, passwords, and where I kept the warranty papers. If I brought up what she did, she'd reply with things like, "You need therapy or stop acting abandoned." Once she texted, "Danelle fixing things around here. Should have been your job." I had fixed everything in that apartment for years, but facts don't matter when somebody needs a villain. She made sure to keep shaming me through mutual friends too. Oliver can't let go. Oliver too soft. Oliver trying to guilt me. I learned then that cruelty gets bolder when it finds an audience. I hit bottom in a Walmart parking lot off I-10. I'd just gotten a notice that my bank account was overdrawn because Nia had used a joint card for a furniture payment. I sat in my car and felt panic come over me hot and fast. My chest tightened, hands shaking, couldn't breathe right. I honestly thought I was dying. A security guard tapped the window and asked if I needed an ambulance. I shook my head, embarrassed, and just cried into my work shirt. That night, I finally called the employee counseling line I'd been ignoring for years. Pride had almost buried me. Therapy saved my life, and I say that plain. My counselor, Dr. Randall, a black man from Louisiana with a calm voice and sharp eyes, didn't let me hide behind "I'm just tired." He called things by their names: humiliation, emotional abuse, trauma, grief. The first session I kept minimizing everything, and he stopped me. "Oliver, if your best friend told you this story, would you call him weak?" I said no. He nodded and said, "Then stop calling yourself what she taught you to believe." I left that office feeling wrung out, but for the first time in months, I felt seen. I started rebuilding like a man patching a roof in a storm, one square at a time. I separated my finances, removed my name from the least illegal way, changed my direct deposit, and sold a bunch of stuff I was holding onto out of sentiment. I picked up extra certification classes for transit operations and logistics because I was tired of waiting for one company to decide my value. It wasn't glamorous. It was late-night studying at Marcus's kitchen table while he heckled me for using highlighters like a nursing student. "Boy, you color-coding pain now." I told him yes, and we both laughed. When I finally moved, it wasn't into some flashy bachelor setup. It was a small one-bedroom in Atlanta near Decatur, clean and quiet, with thin walls and a stubborn bathroom sink. But it was mine. No ghosts in the couch cushions. No surprise insults in the kitchen. I transferred to a transit contractor and took an operations role that paid better than driving. The first night there, I ate Chinese takeout on the floor because I hadn't bought a table yet. It should have felt lonely. Instead, it felt holy. I slept with the TV off and woke up without dread for the first time in a year. Healing wasn't linear. Some mornings I felt strong. Other mornings, one old song in the grocery store could wreck me. I'd hear Nia's favorite track, and suddenly I'm standing frozen by the frozen peas, trying not to cry over bagged okra. But my life kept growing around the hurt. I joined a gym, not to stunt, just to feel my body belonged to me again. I learned how to cook more than struggle meals. My first attempt at salmon looked like a drywall sample, but by month 3 I had a decent lemon garlic game. Quiet success is just repeated small wins nobody claps for. The romance came back into my life slow and surprising. I met Janae at a bookstore in Atlanta when we both reached for the same James Baldwin collection. She looked at me and said, "If you quote Baldwin to flirt, make it original." I laughed so hard I almost dropped the book. She was a middle school counselor, sharp, warm, and impossible to impress with performative masculinity. Our first date was coffee and a walk on the Beltline. No games, no peacocking. Just conversation that breathed. She asked real questions and listened to the answers. I realized I'd forgotten how gentle love can feel. Janae was funny in that dry, precise way that sneaks up on you. One night I tried to assemble a bed frame and insisted I didn't need the instructions. 2 hours later, I had built what looked like a wooden apology. Janae walked in, looked at the crooked slats, and said, "Oliver, this is not a bed. This is a civil rights reenactment of suffering." I laughed until I had tears in my eyes. Then she sat on the floor with me, handed me the manual, and we fixed it together. No shaming, no scorekeeping. Just teamwork and jokes and pizza at midnight. I didn't tell Janae everything right away. Shame still had a grip on me. But healthy people make room for truth. One evening after dinner, I told her about Houston, about Nia, about the night in my apartment, about crying in front of strangers who enjoyed it. I expected that old look, pity mixed with judgment. Janae just took my hand and said, what she called weakness was your humanity. I didn't know how badly I needed to hear that. She never tried to play therapist or savior. She just loved me in a way that never required me to disappear. Over the next few years, my work life transformed quietly. Those certifications paid off. I moved from operations coordinator to regional planning manager for a transportation company with contracts across Georgia. I stayed boring on purpose, steady credit, emergency savings, retirement contributions, no flexing online. I bought a modest house in a tree-lined neighborhood outside Atlanta and paid extra on the mortgage every month until one day the balance hit zero. I didn't post a picture with giant keys. I just stood in my kitchen, touched the counter, and thanked God out loud. Private victories heal places applause never can. Then karma came, sudden and plain, on a Tuesday evening while I was helping my son with fractions. Yes, my son, Janae and I had built a little family by then, and fatherhood remade me in the best way. My phone buzzed with a Houston number I still knew by heart. Nia. I stared at it until it stopped. Then she texted, "Need to talk. It's important." Another text came right after. "Donnell messed me up. Please answer." My stomach flipped, not from love, but from memory. Some old wounds ache before they scar over. I read the messages after my son went to bed. Nia wrote that Donnell had used her credit for business deals, opened accounts in her name, missed payments, and drained her savings. He convinced her to co-sign on a truck and vanished when it got repossessed. She was facing eviction. Her sister Keisha had moved out after they started fighting over money. Nia said everyone she helped was gone now. Not once in those messages did she say, "I'm sorry for what I did to you." Not once did she acknowledge the humiliation. She just wrote, "You always knew how to handle things." That line told me everything. She didn't miss me. She missed access. The old Oliver might have rushed in, not because he was weak, but because he was trained to confuse rescuing with love. The healed Oliver sat with the discomfort and let truth stay truth. I showed Janae the texts. She read them quietly and asked, "What do you need to feel at peace?" Not what does Nia need. Not what looks noble. What do you need? I thought about the couch, the video, the laughter, the months in my car, the panic attack in the parking lot. I knew my answer. I sent one message back. "I hope you find the right legal and financial help. I can't be that for you." That was it. No speech. No revenge paragraph. No screenshots to mutual friends. She called 3 times. I didn't pick up. She texted, "So you're just gonna leave me like this?" I looked at that sentence for a long time because that was exactly what she had done to me, except she had done it with laughter. I turned my phone face down on my kitchen counter, then went back upstairs and finished reading bedtime stories to my son. Karma didn't need me to perform it. It arrived on its own, through the same selfishness she once celebrated. My comeback wasn't flashy. It was a paid-off home, a peaceful marriage, a child who felt safe in my arms, and a life nobody could weaponize because I built it in truth. I learned that being emotional is not weakness, and silence is not surrender. Sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is stop auditioning for people who only value him when he bleeds for them. The moral is simple. Never let cruelty teach you your worth. Let your healing do that. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.